Hi, it's Ed, and I welcome you to Global TV Talk Show again. I want to introduce our sponsors. Global TV Talk Show is co-sponsored by Porchlight Rental and Destination Services. That's porchlightrental.com, porchlightrental.com. Also by cubemonk.com. That's cubemonk.com. It's an innovation in also good packaging, freight forwarding, wonderful invention. And by the relocation management company, AIRS Relocation. That's AIRES, airs.com. Thank you for being a sponsor of Global TV Talk Show. And again, Global TV Talk Show. I'm in San Diego, and we have a wonderful array of participants today and more joining us, and all will be introduced as we get going. Our special guest today is Yvonne Quahe, who's a career and program advisor for World Bank Family Network, which is a unit of the World Bank Group in Washington. I'm very honored to have you on the show. Let's say hi. Welcome, Yvonne. Please quickly introduce yourself, and then I'll ask you a couple of questions.
Okay. Hi, my name is Yvonne. And as Ed said, I work with the World Bank Family Network. By training, I'm actually a coach, a facilitator, and I have a background in HR and global mobility. I'm actually from Singapore. Ed asked the question. I am from Singapore. And we live in Washington, and we have actually worked across Asia, the UK, and now we're in the US. And we're a dual career couple.
So basically, you are a coach. Is that correct?
I do workshops. I am a facilitator and a coach, and I have an HR background, so I can pivot to many things.
Yeah, you use the word pivot. That's perfect. Okay, let's go around the room here, please. This is a conference-style talk show. So very quickly, within 30 seconds, please, Diane, please kick off. Diane, let me say, is a major sponsor of our TV talk show this year. Thank you very much. Diane, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do day to day.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for the forum to get together like this. Porchlight is a rental and destination service company. We serve North America, helping people with rental home finding for apartments, single-family homes, condos, and any settling in services they may need, especially if they're from out of the country. We help with Social Security, banking, DMV, whatever their needs may be. But more importantly, what we do is we really help people find their lifestyle match in their new location. We help them avoid risks and mitigate any issues they may have with leasing and, making poor decisions in a rushed relocation type environment. So that's what we do here at Porchlight. 17 years and going.
Oh, that's great. Okay, also on the program is Daniel Cunningham. Hello, Dan. Welcome.
Hey, Ed. How are you?
Just great. And so Daniel is a founder and creator of this company called CubeMonk, also a major sponsor of our series. And thank you, sir. So tell us very quickly, 30 seconds, what's CubeMonk?
We have designed basically an autonomous transportation network utilizing machine learning and AI, maximizing and optimizing bottom lines as well as carbon reduction in the transportation space utilizing technology. And excited to be here. Thank you, Ed.
No, thank you. So tell us, this is peak season. You must be crazy business. So crazy busy. So thank you for being here right now. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the bottom line about your invention is that it's safe and secure and 100% mistake proof, I guess. Huh? It's safe, secure, and trackable.
Yeah, the technology that's available today, we've been able to do things in the transportation space that most people, haven't gotten to yet, if you will, through IoT devices. And we've been working on it for quite a few years and launched a little over 2 years ago and have seen very, very steady growth. And, not just here domestically, but now going international as well. So we're excited about where we are, what we're doing, and the community that we're building.
Great, thank you. Let's move on to Olivia Rami from Toronto. So please reintroduce yourself now for everybody in the world.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Olivia Bahrami. I'm the founder and CEO of Prime Communications, which is a global mobility communications firm. And I work primarily with relocation management companies and mobility service providers across the world. So marketing and communications function, that's my specialty, and that's what I do. Pleased to be here once again.
Thank you very much. We'll get back. Lynn Greenberg, please say hi and quickly tell us about Pivot.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lynn. I'm the founder and CEO of Pivot, which is the mobile app designed to reduce churn and improve the well-being of relocated and mobile employees. Pivot was actually started out of my own experience, relocating to London with my employer at the time, which was Bloomberg, and landing there without knowing anyone and facing the issue that all people do when moving to a new place, which is how do you go about making your new city feel like home and being productive, from the first day you arrive.
Well, thank you very much. This is really important. We'll get into this. So, Yvonne, we're in a time of terrible uncertainty right now. Fear. People are worried. A large organization like World Bank Group has so many people from so many different places. Yet you have a common thread going through all this. You have dual career issues. You have spouse partner issues. And you had told me earlier one of your pet peeves is this phrase that everybody hates called trailing spouse. So why don't you talk a little bit about your pet peeve and how it relates to your day-to-day, the dual career, and people's lives.
Okay. My pet peeve, trailing spouse. Well, it was first used, interestingly, in 1981 in a Wall Street Journal article by Mary Braloff. And she started to talk about the problems of dual career couples. And she called them trailing spouses. And academia has taken in big time. Everyone's a trailing spouse. I find it rather demeaning because I don't see myself as following anyone anywhere. And I think it molds your mindset. When you start to say, I'm trailing, I sort of see this mental image of this person pulling a little toy along, like, come on, like a child with a little truck pull along. And I hate to think of myself as a pull along. So I'm trying to use the word, and a lot of other people do use it too, accompanying spouse. Because I think in terms of dual career, this is what you both do. You choose to accompany each other on the journey of life. And in that journey, one of the major destinations is career. That's how I see it. So I'm working very hard because I do think that your mindset really molds how you see the world. Because the narrative we tell ourselves is almost the single most powerful thing that defines our actions and behavior. So the first thing I tell anybody who says they're trailing spouse is you need to change your vocabulary. So we do a lot of work because we have a lot of very, very highly educated staff who have, married equally or are in partnership at any rate with very, very highly educated men or women. And so career is a huge, huge issue. So I run something called the Career Lab, where we look at how do you manage a career in an uncertain world? Because, of course, I wear a corporate hat too. We want them to be internationally mobile for us. And where our business is in fragile and conflict countries, which is not terribly attractive. So how do you get two talents, so to speak, to agree to go to a place where we need them? So I see our work as supporting the business agenda of the bank.
Well, thank you. So what's your trick to overcoming the challenge of a spouse partner reluctant?
There is no easy answer to that. But I think if you can have conversations, and I'm actually writing a book. So among my other things, I'm an aspiring author. So I say aspiring because it's still in its first draft stage. Trying to have this dual career conversation about the life that we want, and then basically working on a team vision of, hey, how do we do this? So there is no trick, but I think one of the things that really is important is that whatever decision you make, it has to be experienced by both partners in the partnership as a win. If one of us feels shortchanged, I don't think it makes for happiness. So whatever your choice is, you decide what it is that you want with your life. But it has to be experienced as a win.
Okay, now let me ask you a question, and I welcome the audience here to jump in, and including David in San Francisco. Hi there. How would you use, Yvonne, how would you use AR and VR?
I have to say I'm stumped. I'm going to ask Andrew what ideas he might have.
Well, now I want to introduce the expert. He is Andrew Bruzy.
Oh, thank you. And Yvonne, yes, that's a very funny transition. I appreciate that. And so I have to say, so first, a quick introduction of myself. So Andrew Bruzy, I mentioned a moment before that. I lead Vendium Global, which is an HR consultancy firm. So what we do is we incorporate technology into HR programs, and most specifically in global mobility. So my background, I've over a decade in the mobility field. So I led the mobility program with Walmart for a little bit over 5 years. And so I was actually very excited when I see Landon, the gentleman from CubeMonk. So I'm a complete AI geek. So I will, most often we integrate conversational AI to HR programs. So through telephony, chatbots, so any form of that people like to interact. But we also do VR and AR for HR programs. So a combination of trainings and information delivery. So humans can, even something in a great example in the mobility space is that we also do use them for things like area tours. So with a spherical 360 video, where you can go through, give an area tour, give a home tour, give a school tour, meet the team, do virtual global assignments, those types of things, especially in the age of COVID. We always have to pivot, to use your word, and also to going off of Lynn.
Okay, so I want to make sure, Andrew, you meet Daniel Cunningham. Also, I don't want to use the word nerd, but
you do use it. I use it shamelessly.
So Daniel, tell us about how you see AR and VR.
In today's world, a lot's changing, right? And, as we continue to roll down the road here into the future with COVID and the like coming, if this isn't the end, in my opinion, more and more things are going to come down to that virtual reality and technology, where conferences, concerts, things that typically we would take for granted, where a lot of people are meeting together, it's going to change. And I think that this is going to take and make a big impact in business. It's going to make a big impact in all of our lives going forward, even as individuals. So excited to actually be introduced and see him on the call. So
great. And Dave?
Ed,
yes.
Can I answer Andrew?
Oh, of course.
After listening to you, I think what I would do, because dual career conversations are very tough, and sometimes they disintegrate very quickly, I would put one of those chatbots into the shoes of the other partner and let the chatbot do the talking rather than me tell my partner the thorny things I don't want said. The chatbot can speak on my behalf. And I think from there, I would use it to diffuse conflict so that the humans in the end can have the conversation. That's my answer.
Absolutely. And perks of natural language processing and machine learning, we can go ahead and categorize all of the data from those conversations to see where people are upset and how to improve.
Really?
So I want to introduce Dave, who's in the San Francisco area, as you can see.
Oh.
I'm a ringer. I'm Ed's brother.
Yes. Yeah. So Dave is in public relations and also has a lot to say usually about a lot of things. So
I come at relocation from the person who's done it 5 times. And, what you go through, the highs and the lows. And the highs are the new position and the opportunity, and the lows are everything else. So if you can make the relocation, the move easier, if you can make the process easier, if you can make whatever reimbursements there are easier, and if you can always do gross up on the taxes, that would be really wonderful. That's the hidden that's the hidden bomb, if you will, in relocation. I mean, congratulations, get everything moved, everything's really nice. You move into the new house. 3 months later, you're doing your tax returns, and you found that your income is 3 times what you thought it was, except you never saw any of the cash.
And you have the tax liability.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So you relocated a few times, as you mentioned, New York with ABC to St. Louis and
Chicago.
Yeah.
New York, Chicago,
Right.
St. Louis. And those 3 were on me. Those were my relocations. And then St. Louis to San Francisco was my wife's relocation. I became the accompanying spouse and understood what was involved and developed not only great sympathy, but great empathy.
Yeah. So are you using VR and AR in your PR business today?
Well, no, because what I'm doing now is I'm doing executive and internal communications for a pharmaceutical company, CEO. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm writing emails, some brochures. Sometimes I put together a slide presentation for some kind of a town hall. But there's very little. The AI and AR and VR are in the research and development world that I'm not involved with.
So I want you to meet my friend Olivia. She's does some similar work. So Olivia, why don't you say hi to Dave and tell him better than what I could.
Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. So this is interesting. You do PR, which Ed asked me about if it's one of my core services, and it's not. So I may need to tap into your knowledge at some point. But I do marketing and communications for relocation management companies and mobility service providers. So things like sales proposals, white papers, case studies, website copy, social media content, all of that stuff is something that I do for my clients. And actually, this is a good segue into me bringing Lynn in, because Lynn and I we collaborated on an article a few months back when COVID first hit. And I was really pleased to work with her on covering the Pivot app in the article and how crucial it is to have that support that employees and accompanying spouses or accompanying families need when they're relocating. So, Lynn, do you want to jump in? I think it was a great article, right? It was a great overview of how important it is to have that support, but also highlighting your app, your amazing app, which is an innovation in our space.
Yeah, no. Olivia was fantastic. She wrote a fantastic article. Definitely suggest checking it out, and it was very timely because I think what we're perhaps definitely seeing in this industry, especially through COVID-19, is that employee experience and well-being is not so much a nice to have anymore. It's really a core business need that needs to address the family members as well. I think everyone's reassessing in the industry, how can we for lack of a better word, pivot our moves
Plug
going
it in
forward.
there.
Yeah, so that we can create the best experience possible and make sure that people take opportunities in unfamiliar places, and make the most of their time there.
When you speak with CEOs or chief human resources officer, they always tell you they're worried where they're going to get their next employees from. And so it's very important to look at potential employees in I hate this word, a very holistic manner. You got to look at the whole package. You got to look at what they're bringing with them, whether it's a spouse or kids or just, 2,000 boxes they've accumulated through the years. But and that starts in the recruiting process, whether it's something that you initiate or they initiate. It's always better to treat people with the respect and the feeling that you wish you were treated with. And that is something that tends to be missing in the HR world. They're so busy. They got to do total comp. They got to do this. They got to do that. So they can't tell an applicant that they're good or they're not good. They just let them hang. And so when you're in the company, that's not the day you start being nice to employees. You start being nice to employees at the first contact.
Back to you, Yvonne Quahe, with World Bank Family Network in Washington. You've heard about these different people, these different angles. Does this all make you more comfortable knowing that these services are so diverse and so real new and very current and available to organizations such as World Bank?
I'm particularly interested in Andrew's chatbot because I think it actually, seriously, it does bring up this whole rather interesting conversation because in 25 years, the issue is still the inability of the spouse to settle. It hasn't changed. I actually did the research for my own book. And I thought, why is this still a problem today? And every human resource person will tell you, not only that, and now more importantly with women and women in leadership, that most people will tell you at the senior levels, they're having great difficulty recruiting women, particularly women to go on international assignment.
Yes, and
it's specific to the career. And so the chatbot, see, I was just thinking about it ever since you talked about it. It's that maybe the answer is there because obviously the human beings haven't been able to do it because it hasn't changed. So maybe diffusing the whole conflict situation that couples can get into may be the answer. So that has to be, I do think that the settling in and all those things are very, very important, and having the social network because we're human. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking also about the singles who move. I think when families move, the school seems to be a gravitational point. Somehow they make their own friends because, little Johnny in the end wants to play with Sammy. So I'm going to have to talk to his mother whether I want to or not, or father or whatever, right? So it's the singles and I think the empty nesters. The people who don't have an inbuilt way to kickstart their system. That's what I see. And all of them are the various components I can see, like Diane and rental, because, when you can't get electricity and you don't have internet, the DMV for us in DC is the christening experience, okay? You could see every time they come through the doors, DMV. In one sense, our structures are a little bit, for us, we had no choice in going out to get our own procurement, meaning, I can't say, oh, Andrew, I really think that's great, because then we have a whole procurement, I was going to say ritual to get through. So in that sense, our hands are tied. Well, my hands are definitely tied in that way because we have bureaucratic things, bids, and if it's below so much, and then you have to prove why is it that you only want Andrew and nobody else, and it just gets terribly complicated. And we also are large enough to try to self-solve quite a lot of things too.
Mm-hmm. So I want to introduce Mary Lou. Mary Lou, say hi. Unmute yourself. Hi there. Welcome. Oh, unmute.
I'm a little bit challenged with light. It got very dark and we're in the middle of a thunderstorm, so please excuse.
Yeah, and so you're in Tampa Bay, right?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, we lost you again. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
And can I ask a question here? I'm just curious, Yvonne and others on the call, do you find, though, in our industry of relocation, that spousal assistance is not really acknowledged in policy in the way that it should be? I mean, we all know this. Yes. And why is this such a challenge in our industry? I mean, serving renters, which is what I do, obviously, even their policy falls short very often because they're renting, they can do it online and it's easy for them. Well, that's not true. And there's a lot of occupancy issues out there. And regardless, they're out there making poor decisions because they don't know the market. And I know they can learn a lot online with Pivot, and they can learn it through a lot of different resources. But when you want something done well and right, and we're talking about the talent challenge that David outlined, what CEOs are talking about, these seem like the ridiculous little pieces of money that they're saving.
Yes.
And missing the bigger picture. So, Yvonne, I'm just curious, does your company, what do you hear in the industry about spousal assistance?
Well, I smiled because, I've been hitting my head against the wall because I have asked them, because we actually have a very good benefits package, dare I say. And I have said this before, you're not getting money for your buck. And that comes back to what I call the emotion of policy. Because if they pay, and many companies have a allocated sum for the spouse, but they pay it through the staff member. If they could just shift and pay that to the spouse, him or herself, and just say, thank you for the hassle you've been through. Do you know how much goodwill you will buy? Now, I have hit my head against the wall with that because of the payroll systems. This is the way the system is. So you know what? We cannot change to pay somebody who's not a member of staff. This is the kinds of answers that I have ceased to ask. Okay, and I think Mary Lou, in response to that, I think the complexity lies, and the dual career thing also lies in the fact that the spouse is technically and legally not your employee. Mm-hmm. So it becomes seriously, when you wear the HR hat, very difficult for me to suddenly say, now I'm going to dialogue with Olivia's partner, because my contractual obligation is to Olivia, not to the partner. And yet my outcome is tied to Olivia and partner.
Right.
And I think that's where the difficulty lies. Now, what is also very interesting is that when you have women chief human resource officers, they change things, because in a lot of companies, when the company pays the rental, the person who signs the contract has to be the staff member. Mm. But the spouse is the one who sees the realtor. The spouse is the one who chooses the house. And I know of somebody, she has just got that changed. Because she said, you know what? It's not our employee. Our employee is at the desk. Mm-hmm. It's the other person out there doing it, making that choice. And that person should be empowered. So I think, to be fair, the real issue is that whole thing is that we are not contractually engaged with the spouse. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. And that's where the problem is.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've been smiling this whole time because you're absolutely resonating with me. I actually just put in in the chat to everyone, I'll shamelessly plug a friend of mine who she does specifically spousal support, so spousal coaching. Typically, since she's a female, she will typically work with female spouses, just because that's what she resonates with. She's an expat herself. She's spoken at a conference of ours, so a phenomenal person. But kind of at the crux of even what we're talking about here, there's a few different pieces. So in the three most stressful times in someone's life are going to be death, divorce, and relocation. And I often joke that we try to make sure that two don't happen while one's occurring. And so when there's so much stress in a relocation that goes along with it, that you're absolutely right, Yvonne, that as soon as you take an expat assignment, right now, even the statistics stay the same, that 40 to 60% of expat assignments fail. And most often it's due to the family, because you do lack the spousal support. And with the spousal support, it's multifaceted. First, when we're looking at the intercultural training and adaptability training for the new location, the family needs to be involved, probably more so than even the employee, because the employee is starting off with a foundational support of, I am an employee in this new company. I have my new culture. I have my new clan. The spouse is sitting at home. They may not speak the language. They may not know the culture very well. And they're trying to figure out where their favorite foods are in the grocery store. Something that simple is a challenge. So what we do with conversational AI, and Yvonne, I think that you raise a very fascinating topic, and I think we'll sidebar a conversation for later.
Yes, can we?
Oh, yeah, and because for the psychological aspect of it, there's so much potential. But what we most often use our bots for is to reduce the admin of things like relocation counselors or destination service providers or anyone that's in the mobility supply chain, specifically so then they can spend more time on the human. We refer to it as high touch through high tech. And that way the humans can focus on the human work and the robots can focus on the robot work. And then we don't have as much to what David was mentioning before. Everyone's so busy in the process that I send out 100 service orders. I don't have time. I'm just going to go ahead and let the service providers take care of you. And I'll send you a survey at the end to find out how it went. That's not how it works when we're moving people. We're not moving items. So I love that. I could go on for hours about it, but no, I think that we definitely should have a sidebar conversation, because that would be, and also I'm very curious to hear about your book.
Okay, so we're going to now jump over to Dan. I want him to make sure that, Yvonne, you understand the innovation that Daniel Cunningham and CubeMonk has made to relieve stress, moving stuff and not losing it, right?
Yeah. Your perception is your reality, right? So, the available analytics today are stunning. And, not too many people are utilizing the technology that's available. So we actually, throughout the move, we can report in real time, what's happening and the conditions that the shipment surrounds itself in at all times. And, if the container's opened or closed, if heat and humidity, shock sensors, there's a lot of things that are bypassed that typically, in the end, people are trying to sort out who was at fault for a claim, whose care, custody, and control was it in when something happened. I mean, all these things. I've been in the industry for 31 years in the moving side, and we had lots of questions. And I set out about 7 years ago and started researching and pulling together technology that would enable us to get rid of some of the term I'm looking for, but just not knowing, where things really are, what's happening with the consumer's goods, containers getting lost. I hear this all the time. I deal with, about 750,000 shipments a year. And, there's just a lot of things that are happening out there that, don't have to happen anymore. And that's the reason we have come onto the scene. And it's the reason we've developed the technology that we have. We take everybody into consideration, each of the vendors, each of the providers, the carriers, the consumers. We look at everything, and we look at everybody's position and seat, and we try to do everything we can to make sure everybody's clear. And there's a single source of truth in the way of data, or a data hub, if you will, where there's not data lost in translation. Doesn't matter where the job's originating, whether it's here, Germany. There's common terms and common data that's passed through, which makes things a lot easier. There's, and as we all know, if you're dealing in that realm, there's there's human error, and it doesn't need to be that way anymore. And that's what we've kind of pulled together, and we're looking to push out there. We're also taking advantage of, the technology with machine learning. The cubes route themselves. We don't have to do anything. We don't need dispatch or operations. The containers do everything on their own. They could hail rides, if you will, like an Uber pool type structure, and they get where they need to be. And again, there's a lot of phone calls that happen throughout a relocation, finding out where things are, what the status is, and there's a lot of work and hours that are put in. A lot of cost goes into that. And back to AI, there's a lot of things that human error can be eliminated and the cost reduced, and that's what we've pulled together.
Thank you. Okay, I want to jump back to Lynn. Once again, your app is all about people feeling good, feeling safe, feeling secure. Well, this needs to be highlighted. So is it clear, Yvonne, what the Pivot app does about social well-being?
Yeah, I think the conversation you guys were bringing up before about the importance of spouse is such an important one, and that's something that we're hyper focusing on at Pivot. We actually had our meeting the other day about it. I think what the really big there's obviously several problems. One of the big ones is that the spouse is not included in the process. And they really need to be included from day one until the end. And as you so wonderfully said, they're not included in the process, but they are, such an important part of the outcome. And so what we're trying to do at Pivot is from day one, the moment they find out about the move, we're onboarding them on with their spouse so that they can start getting recommendations and finding their social network in their new city ahead of time, and then staying with them throughout their posts. So past RMC and DSP time and spend, they can connect with other people that are in the same exact situation as them, understand what they're going through, can, talk to them about, issues that come up, and, find people that can really relate to what's going on. So, I think it's a really big problem in the industry, and, I think it's going to take a big army of us to really, tackle it.
Good. Thank you very much. I want to welcome Jack Jample to the show. If you want to speak up, Jack, we certainly welcome you, or if you just want to remain silent or use the chat, that's very okay. So we have about 15 minutes remaining in this, and I want to take just 90 seconds or so now and show you the latest in our advertising creativity here. So I sent that to Jeff Wengler at Ayers. I said, if you hate it, I'll kill it. He says, no, I love it. Keep showing it. So we have one left. And we just want to show you a variety of capabilities, and there's many more. That's cool. Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate it. Dan, did you like that too?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, okay. So, we do these, actually Paul creates them, and but we're just using some technology to help convey images and tell a story. And so, we're moving towards that as we get into the new now, as we reinvent this business. So we're going to be offering this kind of a service for companies that want to talk to their employees who are mostly younger and who understand video and the uses of it. Andrew, I know you do. Dan, of course. Brother Dave has been involved in TV all his life. He was, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you were like senior VP of the PR firm Fleischman Hillard, and then he was prior to that.
My video experience began 50 years ago in local television. I went from there to ABC News, and they sent me a lot of different places. And from there, I went to Fleischman Hillard, where I spent 8 years. And then I came out to California and have worked in technology ever since. But it's all been, a lot of it has been very specifically video related. I've seen the technology evolve through the years. The first time I shot pictures was on film, sprocket holes in it. And now they get recorded on an SD card. So
I was going to say, you properly know video.
It's changed. I had a phone call with a friend of mine at Avid, and those who work in TV or movies know what Avid is. It's a non-linear edit system. And he was saying, "How long have you been working with Avid?" And I said, 1991. He goes, "Oh, I wasn't born yet."
So I don't want you to tell us any secrets here, but you're involved with a very senior pharmaceutical company in the Bay Area now. Are they working on the virus thing?
They're in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Their product that you probably heard of is remdesivir at the moment. They have other drugs. I mean, their business was based originally, since their founding 30 years ago, was based on finding a treatment for AIDS, which they now have two. And they have been working since January on remdesivir and moving it through. Whether that's the answer, who the hell knows?
Yeah. So I read about that this morning. I think Axios did something on that particular drug and how it helps. Doctors are finding new uses for it right now. The people who have the symptoms, who are sick, it somehow lessens the clotting or lessens the damage in the lungs, something like that.
The impact. I mean, the first trials indicated that it would lessen a hospital stay. I think from 15 to 11 days was the first result.
Yeah.
Continued refinements. The challenge in any of this is manufacturing 3 billion doses.
Yeah.
Cover the world.
Crazy.
And that doesn't happen overnight. Plus, they have to discover whether it works for people of all ages, of all ethnic backgrounds. There's so much to do. The problem with hydroxychloroquine, or whatever the hell it was that if you had Mediterranean blood in you, that was akin to giving you a stroke. So that doesn't work. There were other drugs they could have tried, but so when somebody says we have the cure, one of the things I've discovered is let me see someone else who's living with it.
Oh, that's a good one. Let's go to Mary Lou. Mary Lou, unmute yourself. Mary Lou and I, as some of you know, have known each other forever, and she has a unique experience now with NetExpat and dealing with dual career situations in particular, correct?
Yes, and what you were speaking about earlier is so important. And one of the things that we do is work with the spouses, pre-departure coaching once they arrive at the location, assisting them with job search if they do get the visa to work. But there's also social integration. And we even have our own platform where they can connect with other expats and have some kind of meaningful relationships in their expatriation, because we realize how difficult it is for them. And that's kind of the core of the business, and really something that makes a big difference. And whether it's the male who's being or the female, I've had both really. Both spouses suffer greatly at this expatriation process because you have one who's at work, but the other who has to restart their career, find schools for their children, adjust, find the foods, like you said, that they like having in their new location. And it's very, very stressful.
Let me ask you a question, Mary Lou. If you could address this question that I have, and this is an unrehearsed program, as you may guess. And so, Mary Lou, have you had counseling situations where people, expats that's been who've been relocated back as a result of the virus, as a result of the business downturn?
I have two people who are going to go back earlier. I haven't had any so far who have relocated back, but I have two whose assignments are being cut short due to the situation. And then I have a third who's supposed to move here to the U.S. from Germany. She's Spanish, but they're being held up by the visa situation in the U.S. So although her husband is doing his new role with the company here in the U.S., he's working out of Germany right now.
So let's go back to Yvonne. This tells a story of stress. So how would you in the bank, typically, how would you handle that kind of a situation? What kind of counseling, what kind of career advice, personal advice would you share with your staff and their families?
Because of COVID or general relocation stress?
Well,
both?
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, general relocation stress, what we try to do is to definitely kickstart the process by trying to link them to people in the new location so that they can start getting a sense of what it would be like to live there. We try to give them as much certainty as we can in an uncertain situation, because it is the uncertainty, which if you think about COVID, this is the thing that's causing a lot of stress, because basically the brain doesn't like uncertainty. We all have a discomfort with it. So we try to look at the levers that we have and say, how can we inject some certainty into an inherently uncertain situation? And so if we can answer their questions, I think giving them honest answers to real questions. And if we don't know, we say we don't know. And then trying to link them with the families on the other side to sort of say, okay, they are there and they're in the best place to answer you. In terms of COVID, our situation is that all moves are on hold at the moment. So very much like Mary Lou, people are already working on their new location work programs from wherever they are or wherever they were at the start of lockdown.
So is this an ongoing service that your office provides to employees?
We are the ongoing, yes. We are the ongoing. We do use destination service providers as well, but they are for a specific period. And I don't know, HR runs that, how many days we give them. I think 5 days of support or 6 days or something, and they can use it as they will. But we are the family network, and we're there actually before they move. It's so, the sooner they can get to us, the better. And in fact, what we do right now, because everybody's not able to move, we have what we call our Thursday travels, and we invite people from our different offices to talk about what is life like for a family. And, yesterday we had, where did we go? We had life in Uganda. And so they were telling us about what would it be like if we moved to Uganda? And so now I think one of the benefits that we're seeing with being virtual is that they can get a few members to talk about it rather than one speaker. So yesterday we had 3 people talking about what it was like. So you have different perspectives. So in a very interesting way, it's also, well, I like to think, I don't know whether we've not mentioned it, so I can't say for sure. Okay, help with talent mobility in that we're showcasing the different countries. So that if you're thinking about moving, you can attend one of these Thursday travel events that we have, and you can just sit there and you can ask questions. You know, a very typical question is, what do teenagers do in the weekend? Like we had Pakistan 2 weeks ago, and somebody who was moving there actually said, I've got a teenage daughter. What can she wear to a shopping mall? And straight away on that, I wouldn't call it a show, but on that hangout, as we call it, there was somebody from Pakistan who said, well, generally, this is what teenagers do and this is what they wear. So in that sense, COVID has really given us an opportunity to do something like this, which I don't think without COVID we would have done it.
So tell us about your book. This is a work in progress. Have you written the first chapter?
I have actually on the verge of finishing the first draft. So it's more than a chapter, thankfully.
Oh, good for you. So
well, I can tell you the title is Whose Career? Yours, mine, or ours?
Oh, that's clever.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah. So Diane, are you writing a book?
I've actually thought about it, to be honest, because I've been through an IPO in my life. I started my relocation career 32 years ago in a small corporate housing company, and that corporate housing company merged with others and led the way to an IPO, to a public corporate housing company. And I think there's just a lot to share in that experience as somebody that was in my position at the time, and what I experienced around me when founders of companies come together, sell their company, and think they're going to work within a company. It doesn't work. So I don't have a book right now, Ed, but I thought about it.
Well, I want to make sure you know Dan Cunningham. There's some secrets to share later.
Okay.
So, Andrew, are you writing a book?
So I've written 2 ebooks, and so I need to get one that is properly so that is published in an actual, it's a hardcover, softcover. But so one was, they're very like industry focused. One was the corporate guide to mobility modernization, and the other was the relocation management company guide to mobility modernization. So they're a little tiny 150 page ebooks, but and I also do a lot of articles, but I would love to do something kind of full feature. What I started doing was writing articles, and then I was like, this article relates to this article, and combine them. So that's how I got started. So absolute respect to you, Yvonne, for getting through your first draft of it, because it is very difficult, even for something as short as mine.
Mine is a COVID book. I seriously, I only had done 1 chapter because I had done so much traveling and things like that. And the rest has come only during lockdown. If it weren't for lockdown, nothing would be done. Truthfully, nothing. I would have had 2 more trips since lockdown. So where would I have time? Now I have nothing, well, not quite nothing to do, but nowhere to go. So
for you, because you took the time and you made some production out of it. So absolute kudos to you. I can't tell you the number of people that I've spoken to saying, I don't know what to do now. I'm just going to wait. Wait a minute. This is an opportunity. This is a transformational time for our industry. So that is phenomenal that you took the time for it.
Everything happens for a reason.
True. Yeah. Can I just say this with the lockdown? At the beginning of lockdown, I told Ed this yesterday, I decided this is going to be so worthless if I don't learn anything from it. So I decided that I am a facilitator. I will learn to be a virtual facilitator during COVID. And I've done that. I turned one of our programs into a totally designed, redone it all in a month. It's up and it's going.
Okay.
So,
Okay, Andrew, you got to get her involved in AR, VR, or whatever.
Yeah, I'll definitely look forward to having a side conversation. My mind is turning for actually the entire panel here of you all can expect some LinkedIn messages because I've got some.
Please.
All right. So, Olivia, have you written a book with all your writing activities going on?
So I'm not that kind of a writer. No, I don't. At least at present, I don't foresee myself writing a book. My clients keep me very busy with other projects, corporate communications, as I mentioned, and we'll see. Time will tell, but for now, I think not yet.
Okay. So, Brother Dave, are you writing a book about all your speech making or
No,
speech writing?
I've written 2 books. The last one was 2005. The other one was back in the 80s. I've written congressional testimony. That's, you want to go to sleep? Congressional testimony will take care of anything. I've written speeches for a lot of people. I've written a lot of user manuals. I've written annual reports for companies, and I'm very happy to just have to write an occasional email these days.
So, what did you write for PG&E that got them out of trouble?
Well, I didn't do anything. That I was involved in change management, and so I wrote a lot of things. I did websites, I did newsletters, I did videos, things to facilitate the change with a focus on those impacted by it, as opposed to what normally happens, where you manage change for those above you, and the rest of the people can, sort of sit and worry about what's going to happen to them. So my focus was downward based. It was fairly effective. I did it for 4 years. I'm happy I'm not doing it right at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, Diane, back to you. There's a lot of people moving out of urban areas. Mm-hmm. They want to get away from quote unquote trouble. So are you finding that you have a surge in business?
We are finding a surge in virtual business, and I have mentioned this on some of our panels before also. So business is still strong. It's stronger in certain segments, of course, rather than others. We're talking about all of what the COVID projects are going on. So we have a lot of retail customers in those industries that are moving a lot of people still, a lot of the chemical companies, a lot of pharmaceutical companies. And their people are either interested in visiting the market or they're not. And if they're not, then we're helping them navigate the situation, conversation, seeing these houses. I have a family I'm working with right now, in fact, going out to California from Georgia, and same thing. They just want to be able to move their household goods directly into their property. So they just want this handled for them. So we've been able to find the properties, we have to do the virtual walkthroughs, and absolutely in the suburbs, not in downtown. So I don't know. I think that these things cycle around a little bit, as you know, and, we just help people find where they want to live, regardless if it's downtown or the suburbs.
So Yvonne, as we come to a close here in the next couple of minutes, your summation about keeping or working on getting spouses and partners to be happy and less non-reluctant? Is that possible? Is that an oxymoron?
I mean, I think, no, it's not. I think if they actually sat down and had a conversation, I believe, about the life that they want. Now, of course, when you talk about that, it may or may not factor in where you're going and where your company might want to send you. But I think if you start to have that kind of conversation, I think there's room for recalibration. And there is room for taking opportunities and things like that as they come up. But I think it has to be a conversation that has to be ongoing. Because the world we live in is changing all the time. So maybe people are right now a lot more reluctant to go anywhere because COVID has just shown us that you could be stuck. I don't know. Maybe it might be easier because I see the upside is that people can work remotely. So if careers were always the thing that stopped everyone, now if I can work remotely, what's there to stop me from going? So I think the jury is out.
Yeah, working from anywhere. So the big debate in the relocation industry is work from anywhere, which means you send the work, you distribute the work to wherever the people are around the world, global talent, pipeline development, if you will, rather than invest tons of money and effort and worry relocating staff.
Oh, we could have an entire session on that, Ed. So actually, in one of previous conferences, I'd said that I was putting out the article that day on what's the future of mobility, and it's specifically around that topic. So that's why as soon as you said that, my ears perked up. But yeah, that is a fascinating question. And I think that any relocation management companies that aren't looking at how to transform and how to pivot and how to utilize their entire skill set and workforce, they will face potential extinction in that, because this industry is changing. And you're absolutely right. If I talk to my clients, even corporate mobility programs, advising them, hey, you can save X amount of dollars by just doing virtual assignments. Don't move your people. This is how you can be compliant and work remote, where your people can live and work from anywhere that you want. You save on the facility, you save on the actual materials costs, and then they have a better employee experience. But what kind of the crux of the article is that mobility moves thought. It moves thought and labor. Corporate sponsored relocations are movement of thought. So how do you impactfully move thought as a mobility company or as an RMC or as a corporate mobility program? And in a lot of cases, it still does involve moving people. It's just going to be for different reasons. So stay tuned for that article. I'll keep everyone posted.
So I want to tell you about what's coming. It's very important that I invite you all to be involved, at either as participants like this or in the background. We're always looking for speakers and always looking for sponsors. So on July 29, we're producing a show that's still developing, but will happen on 29 July at 8 a.m. California. It's coming from Chicago mainly, but elsewhere as well. And it's all about diversity, belonging, diversity, and inclusion. And we've got some real heavy hitters in that space who have already signed up to be speakers. One is a representative of a very large tech company, which I have to leave nameless for now, but it certainly will be announced as we get closer. And others have experience. All right, next is August 5 is an all-star cast developing. From Amsterdam, we have a recently retired global head of talent rewards from Philip Morris International, PMI. And Michael Piker is his name. And he's going to be talking with us from Amsterdam. But we have others from Dubai and from London and Geneva, and also Chicago, New York, and California. So far, we're still building this program. So assisting Michael in this presentation will be Angela Lane, who's Global VP of Talent with AbbVie, which is a large pharmaceutical company. And she's also a co-author of a book called Fair Talk, which is all about employee feedback, employee engagement, particularly in the COVID era, and work from anywhere kind of thing, and how she's managing. How's that? AbbVie is a huge company. They're a spinoff from Abbott. And also on the program is her recently retired VP Talent from AbbVie, Mark Nadich. He'll be on the program now with her. And in addition to that, we have others coming on from the U.S. and these other cities where I mentioned. August 6th is our Canada Global event. And we do have Stephen Krein, who's president of CERC in Toronto, and also Mirella Marin, who's with Zynga in Toronto, and she'll be on the program, and there's several others pending that decision. It's all about Canada. And August 21 is our Switzerland global meeting, and Angie Weinberger in Zurich is going to be involved and helping me attract others from Switzerland. And August 28, Angie will be back in, but we're going to go Europe-wide. And there'll be a great cast of faculty on that program, August 28. As I mentioned earlier, as I sum up here, between now and New Year's, we'll be producing about 100 broadcasts. And we certainly welcome you to come back. We welcome ideas. We welcome faculty members. And Yvonne, I welcome you to come back when you're ready to talk about your book in detail. I want to help promote it for you. Anything I can do to help. I want to also say that I was introduced to Yvonne just a few days ago by our mutual friend, Indy Element, who's based in London. He sends me this email out of the blue saying, I have a friend in Washington who I think you ought to meet. And so here we are, Yvonne. Thank you, Andy. I've really enjoyed.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you. So I really enjoy doing this. This is our reinvention for the new now, if you will. Our live conference business evaporated on February 28th after producing 20 meetings through February of this year, going back into 19. We faced in person about 1,000 people, and all of that's gone away. So since COVID began, I needed to reinvent myself, and I've been thinking about working with Zoom and video, and actually I was quite scared about it because I didn't know what I could do. But now I love it, and it's like driving me forward. And I thank our sponsors. Thank you. Dave?
You've just illustrated what about the biggest change since the pandemic caused the shutdown. And that is, with a tool, the technology has come so far that from the time we started talking about working from home, which was in the mid 80s, when people started connect to the internet with 300 baud modems, we now have the ability to host people from around the world.
Yeah.
We just talked about having people from Dubai and Spain and the UK and the US all on a call, and it didn't cost them anything to do it. There's nothing that's going to replace face-to-face because sometimes you just got to be there. But the days that there's if you don't see it, it doesn't happen, are gone. This kind of a meeting where you're going to have Zoom. I'm going to be on one later today that's got 45 people on it, so this is a breeze. But this kind of meeting has enabled the kind of communication that would take days to accomplish and thousands of dollars to accomplish. What we come to these days is we have, the old saying in the television business when we had to go there, basically like Iran to get shot at or something, because there was no lens in the sky. Boy, has that changed. There are cameras everywhere, anywhere you go in the world. And there are not only a lens in the sky, there's a zillion lenses in the sky. And that changes the way, it changes everything. And it creates an opportunity like Zoom or any of the other video conferencing apps that you can do it. And while it's not free, it's not expensive.
So just to clearly illustrate this about the role of fear and not having done it before and afraid of what it's going to do and maybe I'm going to make a mistake. February 13th, I produced a live meeting in LA, actually in Venice Beach, at the Hotel Irwin, which is the heart of funk. Right, that's Muscle Beach in LA, by the way. So, and it took a lot to put that program together, and we struggled to get 18 people in that room. Okay, now the room overlooked the beach, and it was just a wonderful thing, and we had some really good people there, including the head of HR, head of administration for a very rich Indian tribe in East LA called San Manuel. And she and I knew each other when she had a job in HR in San Diego 10 years ago. We stayed in touch. And then I said, well, someday you got to speak, da, 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 da. And so she came to speak at Venice Beach. So, and with that came several techie HR people whose names I can't remember right now, but they're written down. And they were all in this boardroom setting. And we had tacos. I think we're on a Tuesday, so we had Taco Tuesday. And, it was very low key and very, very collaborative. And one of my guest speakers at lunch was a venture capitalist who I've known for some years. And he's been following what I'm doing. And he says, Ed, I'm not going to invest in you. You're going to lose money. So I know you love what you do. So what you need to do is blah, 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 blah. So I said, now, wait a minute, Rob. I'm letting you speak here. You got to tell me what to do. He says, smarten up. It's all around you. Do it on video. Get it going. Learn how to do it. It's called ready, shoot, and then aim later and shoot again. All right. Don't worry about how you look. Just do it. And so we began. And that started during the first week of March. Never had done one of these before. And the first one I'm not showing publicly, but someday we'll do outtakes and we'll laugh, but we've come a long way. We've done about 30 of these so far, and I just find it stimulating, and we're beginning to attract some sponsors so I could pay some bills. So it's really good. And Rob, the venture capitalist, says, I'm watching everything that you're posting on YouTube, and keep going, because there's a lot of people who are watching that, and you're going to do it right. Just don't stop. So that's why I laid out this idea of doing about 4 or 5 a week between now and New Year's. That's about 100. And so I need some ideas for next week. So call me up. Let me know what you want to talk about.
You did a good job on this one.
Thanks, bro. This is the first time we've been together on this. So
well, since we had breakfast about a year ago.
Yeah, that was at that was at San Francisco.
Yes.
Yeah, live meeting.
Right behind me.
I was going to say, he's right at the Golden Gate right now. So, I mean,
if you'd like, I could put the moon behind me.
So actually, we had breakfast that day at some cafe, which is right near the Embarcadero.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at that time, that I was going to a meeting that I was hosting live. So we had, in the audience, we had Riverbed Technologies, Twilio, we had Glass Point Solar, when we had as our featured speaker the head of talent, VP talent with Fitbit, Jason Williams, Dr. Jason Williams. And, and then there are a few others, some lawyers and accountants and movers and bakers. So it was a good meeting, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with me today. Mary Lou, thank you. I know this is the umpteenth time you've done this with me. I thank you. And I really appreciate it. So, Yvonne, come back again, please.
Thank you.
And please utilize. Please utilize our people here. Anybody needs to be connected, just let me know. I have everybody's address, or you can do chat here and everybody will see it. So, Yvonne, is it okay to give out your email?
Yes, please do.
All right, thank you. So this is a hold harmless request in case anybody bothers you. So, so the legal liability of relocation is something that hasn't been discussed too much. So someday that'll be a program.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there's so there's a number of things that's one thing I'm definitely going to link with Daniel on that. So when he mentioned that his AI will protect from human error, I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, what about all the corrupt ports that you ship things to that things go missing? It's not human error. That's going to be fascinating when he's tracking those shipments.
Yeah, great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you all. This is Ed signing off in San Diego, Yvonne in Washington. Andrew, are you still in the mountains?
Yes, up until Monday. So, yep, this was an example of getting stuck, but I'm stuck somewhere good. So,
yeah, great. Dave in San Francisco, Mary Lou in Tampa, Diane in Canton, Ohio. Great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.